The film begins in the late 1950s. A young man, Tom Ripley, becomes acquainted with the wealthy Greenleaf couple. He rented a Princeton University student jacket, and they assumed he had studied with their son, Dickie.
Princeton. Most likely you'll know our son, Dickie Greenleaf.
I couldn't help noticing your jacket.
Yes.
In reality, Ripley is poor and works various odd jobs. The next day, Mr. Greenleaf meets Ripley and offers the new acquaintance $1,000 if he can persuade his spoiled son, Dickie, to return home. His son, a rich playboy, is currently squandering his fortune in Italy. That's where Ripley must go. He learns that Dickie loves jazz music, and Tom memorizes popular hits to make it easier to gain the wealthy man's trust. A luxurious car with a driver picks up Ripley and takes him to the port. At the Italian terminal, Tom meets socialite Meredith and, for some reason, introduces himself as Dickie Greenleaf.
Meredith Randall.
Dickie Greenleaf.
Hello.
The young woman recognizes the name of the wealthy heir and becomes interested in him. He immediately improvises stories about his life. Tom arrives in the charming seaside village of Montebello. He studies Italian and watches Dickie and his girlfriend Marge through binoculars. Wearing light green swim trunks, he goes to the beach and pretends to have recognized Dickie Greenleaf. They supposedly studied together at Princeton. The couple finds the pale young man amusing and invites him to dinner sometime. Later, Tom accidentally discovers that Dickie has an Italian mistress, Silvana. Because of this, Dickie is late for breakfast with Marge, but Tom Ripley already keeps her company. Dickie is curious about the talents of the bespectacled young man.
Everybody should have one talent. What's yours?
Forging signatures, telling lies, impersonating practically anybody.
Tom immediately demonstrates this by perfectly mimicking Dickie's father's voice. This both amuses and unsettles the wealthy man. Marge is also impressed. Ripley then reveals Mr. Greenleaf and explains that he was hired to bring the son home.
Did you ever conceive of going to Italy, Tom, and bringing him back?
What?
Dickie becomes angry. He has no intention of leaving. Tom goes to say goodbye to the couple and accidentally drops some records from his bag. It turns out both young men like jazz and even the same performers. This gives them an excuse to go to Naples together, to Dickie's favorite jazz club. There, the playboy kisses another woman and sings on stage. Tom increasingly enjoys the wealthy lifestyle here, much more than in New York. He is even invited on stage to join the fun. Dickie kisses him on the cheek. The next morning, the wealthy man writes a letter, or rather, types it. He always does it this way. Dickie decides that Tom will act as a double agent and help him extract money from his father. For the first $1,000 of allowance, they plan to buy a car, or at least a refrigerator. Dickie lodges Tom at his place. The young man practices mimicking the homeowner's voice while trying on his expensive watch. Ripley learns to sail his friend's yacht and dreams of visiting famous European cities. Tom also grows closer to Marge. While walking, they buy fruit from Silvana. Ripley spends virtually every minute of his life with Dickie. Between choosing a car and a refrigerator, they opt for the latter. Tom doesn't want to reveal his poor New York life and doesn't admit he has only one shirt. He notices that Dickie makes spelling mistakes and his handwriting is childish. But most importantly, Tom sees his signature. In the evening, the men drink beer while Tom teaches Dickie to write correctly as Dickie takes a bath. Ripley asks to join him. The playboy refuses, but then stands and shakes his manhood in front of him. Mr. Greenleaf loses patience and demands that his son return by Thanksgiving. But the friends are not concerned with that. They have arrived in Rome. They are joined by a third friend of Dickie's, Freddie Miles. The bright and loud man immediately overshadows Tom and grabs all the playboy's attention. Our hero has to explore the ancient city alone. Returning to Montebello alone, he wears Dickie's clothes and goofs around in them. However, the wealthy man also came home and did not appreciate such audacity from his poor friend.
Sorry. I wish you'd get out of my clothes.
Freddie brings him back to Montebello. The man looks at the bespectacled young man with contempt. Marge notices that Tom is upset and explains that Dickie is a passionate man, but people quickly bore him, and he shifts his attention to other friends. The couple makes love in the cabin. Tom spies on them, and Freddie mocks him for it. On the shore, Silvana stands sadly. The trio observes a Christian ritual attended by the whole village. Suddenly, a woman's body surfaces. It's Silvana. She has committed suicide.
I'll go see what's the matter.
Alcohol.
Later, he admits to Tom that the woman was pregnant with his child, which is why she acted this way. He had refused to give her money for an abortion. Ripley says this is now their secret, and he will keep it. In another letter, Mr. Greenleaf notifies Tom that he will stop funding him, as he was unable to influence his son. Dickie is also ready to say goodbye to him. The bespectacled young man must return to his worthless life. But before that, they visit a jazz festival in San Remo together. Tom feels more than just friendship for his companion, and Dickie finds him creepy. At the festival, Dickie questions Tom about whether he really studied at Princeton and whether he really likes jazz. They even bet with Marge that it's not true, and Dickie wins. Tom had been pretending and lying all along. The next day, the playboy rents a boat to explore the area, and, of course, takes Tom with him. Ripley shares his plans to move there, so they can rent a house together and continue spending time. But Dickie is going to marry Marge and is even glad that Tom is leaving.
I love Marge.
You love me. You're not marrying me.
Tom, I don't love you.
No, I don't mean that as a threat.
To be honest, I'm a little relieved you're going.
The bespectacled young man clings to him like a leech and can be incredibly boring. Ripley responds by bringing up all his faults: infidelities, inconsistency, refusal to admit he is gay, which, in Tom's opinion, he is. Dickie snaps, slaps him, mocks him, and is about to start the motor when he unexpectedly gets hit in the face with an oar. Blood gushes from the wound and floods the boat. A fight breaks out. Tom grabs the oar again and beats his beloved Dickie to death. After lying with the body in his arms, he drowns him with the boat. He goes to the hotel to collect keys and belongings, and the concierge calls him by another name.
Must be very cold. Signor Greenleaf, yes?
No,
He realizes he can simply assume a new identity and act in Dickie's name. After all this, Tom returns to Montebello and immediately types a letter in Dickie's name, effortlessly forging his signature. He lies to Marge that the wealthy man decided to go to Rome and asks her to deliver perfumes with the letter, as well as gather his saxophone and some clothes. It seems Dickie has decided to leave them. He is so fickle. The young woman reads the letter. It turns out Dickie really decided to move to Rome alone, and she blames herself for pushing him too much with talks about marriage. Tom checks into 2 Roman hotels at once, one under the name Dickie Greenleaf, the other under his own. He takes advantage of the fact that Dickie's passport photo isn't very clear. Calling both hotel rooms and leaving messages, he fakes conversations between himself and the supposedly dead Dickie. In a Gucci store, he runs into Meredith again. She knows Freddie Miles, who has told her about Marge and Dickie's relationship. Tom, however, assures her they have broken up. To Meredith, he is still Dickie Greenleaf, not Tom Ripley. At the bank, Tom receives money transfers in Dickie's name. He gets a custom-tailored suit, and Meredith flirts with him, inviting him to the opera, an event Tom genuinely enjoys as he finds the story relatable. In the foyer, he encounters Marge and her companion. Quickly, he removes Dickie's rings and puts on glasses, keeping his disguise intact. Marge is surprised to see him in Rome and still worried about her boyfriend's behavior. They almost bump into Meredith, but Peter, wanting to get closer to Tom, schedules a meeting for the next day. Tom discreetly leads Meredith away from the opera, telling her he saw Marge and wanting to avoid a scene of jealousy. He walks her home and arranges a meeting at the same cafe where Peter and Marge plan to meet. By cleverly orchestrating their encounter, Tom learns that Meredith has romantic feelings for Dickie, resolving the situation with both women.
God, unless he meant us to meet. That'd be a little cruel, wouldn't it?
Embarrassed, Meredith leaves the cafe and Tom rushes off to meet his friends, outraged at Dickie's shameless behavior. Marge decides to leave Rome. By Christmas, Tom has settled into a new, wealthy, and secluded life in a luxurious apartment. But his peace is disrupted when Freddie Miles, who hasn't seen Dickie in a long time, discovers that he lives there. Tom's attempts at deception fail. Freddie knows too much.
It's a new piano. Probably shouldn't.
He notices that Dickie would never live in such an apartment, and Freddie senses something suspicious. The landlady identifies Tom as Dickie. Surprised, Freddie returns and is struck on the head with a sculpture. Several blows later, he dies. Panting, Tom seats the body in a cabriolet and dumps it somewhere on the street. The next day, the police come for questioning about the previous night. Mr. Greenleaf is the last person who saw Freddie alive, and Tom is forbidden to leave Rome. Paranoia sets in. He thinks he sees Dickie and almost falls off his scooter. Marge arrives, convinced that her boyfriend killed Freddie. She notices that whenever she searches for Dickie, she finds Tom instead. Tom pretends to drive her to her fiancé, but leaves her nearby after spotting the police outside his home. He drives in circles until he returns home, now surrounded by reporters. The inspector questions him about Tom Ripley. A flooded boat stolen last November by 2 Americans was found in San Remo. The inspector asks if he has a photo of Mr. Ripley. No one has seen Ripley since San Remo, except Dickie. The inspector invites Tom for an identification session. A woman claims she saw 2 men enter Freddie Miles's car. Afterwards, Marge tries to enter her fiancé's apartment, but Tom doesn't let her in. He writes a letter to himself as Dickie, taking responsibility for Freddie's death and calling himself Dickie's spiritual brother, claiming he would have been a better son to Mr. Greenleaf. Tom resumes his identity as Tom Ripley, narrowly avoiding the police. He travels to Venice and meets Peter. Rumors suggest Dickie killed Tom and left under his passport. They go to the local police. A new inspector is now on the case. The previous one missed Dickie as the sole suspect. The strict inspector questions whether Tom might be homosexual and whether he killed Dickie and Freddie. Tom protests indignantly. The inspector shows him a forged letter, Dickie's supposed death note. Tom feigns anger and confusion. Tom enjoys his time at Peter's mansion. He seduces Peter, who seems willing to join him in a bath. On the train station platform, they meet Marge, who is not thrilled to see Tom. Dickie's father is coming with a private detective who discovers that Dickie withdrew $1,000 before his disappearance, an unusual act for someone planning suicide. Peter rents a house for Tom while Marge stays there. She notices how much Tom has changed. In a private meeting with Mr. Greenleaf, Tom is seen as an ally regarding Dickie.
You know, people always say that you can't choose your parents. But you can't choose your children.
Tom dreams of having killed Dickie. Marge and Peter return from a walk. Peter offers Tom privacy, and Tom gives him the house key. While Tom bathes, Marge finds Dickie's ring and panics, demanding answers. Tom asks for time to dress and contemplates using a dangerous razor to kill her. Marge is about to leave, but Tom stops her. She senses danger. He accidentally cuts his hand. She cries, and Peter intervenes. Tom later meets Mr. Greenleaf, the detective, and Marge. The discovery of the rings changes everything. Tom talks with the detective, who learns Tom never studied at Princeton, but tuned pianos there. Dickie had almost killed another man out of jealousy and hid Freddie's car numbers, confirming he committed the murder. Mr. Greenleaf interprets a letter as Dickie's request to transfer money to Tom for loyalty. Marge remains suspicious. In the 1950s, men rarely heeded women, and Mr. Greenleaf dismisses Marge's concerns as hysteria. Tom travels with Peter to Athens. Meredith, traveling on the same ship with friends, immediately approaches Dickie. She still has feelings, and Tom kisses her. Peter witnesses the kiss, jealous. Tom lies again, switching between identities. He admits he always thought it's better to be someone than nothing. He lies beside Peter, asking what's good about Tom Ripley, wrapping a scarf around his hand, recalling how he strangled Peter and cried, "He has killed again."